Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon, a very good morning, a very good evening to one and all present here. So, I heartily welcome to all of you who are there and who have taken their time out to join out this webinar. So, I begin this webinar on statistical analysis for research scholars. So before I jump on to the topic which we have selected for this today's session, I represent research graduate, myself Dr. Renu Mishra, and I am located in Dubai. And I'm a management educationist from past, I should say, 10 to 12 years. And I take care of masters and doctoral students. And when it comes to research graduate, so research graduate primarily is a one-stop solution for all the scholars out there who are looking for, the queries to be sorted, be it related to their topic, be it related to their proposal writing, or be it related to their dissertation, or any kind of solution they are looking for, and they are not finding any right destination to visit. So you may assure yourself to approach research graduate for it. All right. So now it's the question comes that how to approach research graduate. So you may approach research graduate with the following email ID. The WhatsApp number has been given for your reference, and you can also browse research graduate on the given website. All right. Now let me tell you about this structure of the webinar. So the webinar structure goes like, we'll be discussing about 90 minutes or so. As I always tell you that it's not hard and fast 90 minutes or so, so it may stretch beyond 90 minutes, the discussion, and it may, you know, end before 90 minutes as well. However, your questions may go extended 30 minutes also. That's what the main point is. So though it is not like that your questions will be only catered to 30 minutes only, right? So you just don't worry about that. Also the ppts which I'll be using during the webinar, the certificates that you have been an active participant of this webinar, and the recording will be sent to you on your registered email id, with the email id you have registered with for this. And just in case, this very important thing, just in case you encounter any technical glitch, that your video is blurred or the screen is not clear, kindly increase the video quality by the mentioned dimensions, or the description of the YouTube video quality by 720p, just to have a better video experience. Why I'm telling you that? Because during the webinar, many a times we have this thing that we are not getting better video, or the screen is not clear. Also, whosoever have joined from phone, they might can get a glitch, or they might can get a issue in viewing the screen properly, so they have to bear with it. However, others who have joined for any tab or any ipad or their systems itself, I'm sure they would not have any problem. Even so, if there is any problem, so just hear it me out, because ppts and the recorders would be there to you in any which ways. All right. Okay, so now it's time to start the webinar itself. Okay, so the topic today is to talk about statistical analysis. All right. Let me again extend my heartfelt gratitude for all those who have joined this webinar, and I can see the names, couple of names which I remember, that who are regular participants to this webinar. I really am grateful for all of them who are taking their time out on this weekend and have participated in this webinar. Thank you for them, and let's make it as an active participation. If you have any queries during the webinar, kindly make a note of it. It would be beneficial. Reason being, because in between the webinar, it's not possible all the time for me to take the questions because I'm discussing. I may miss out the question. So make sure that you ask the question by the end of it. Okay, that's always suggestive. All right. Now, coming back to the topic which we have taken for this webinar. What is statistical analysis? Basically, statistical analysis, what it hear out to the most of the researchers is like a scary thing. Absolutely, it's like a scary thing that whenever it comes to topic selection, we do it very easily. Whenever we talk about literature review, we are kind of, we are very comfortable doing it. But when it comes to research methodology, or probably when it comes to statistical analysis part of it, we kind of surrender, because we don't know what to do with it. So let us first gauge on it that what is statistical analysis. All right. So in any research, you collect the data. Now, what is data? Let me just give you a quick look about it. Any research, be it qualitative, be it quantitative, you need to collect the information. Okay, be it primary information which you collect by yourself in the form of through the interviews or through the questionnaires, or be it systematic literature review, so you collect any previous literature. So whatever data you have, whatever information you have collected for your researcher, for your research, it need to be processed. It needs to be analyzed. It needs to be presented. It needs to be explored in such a way that person like you and me can understand that what is there to discover in that information. Like for example, if somebody have collected, let's say, couple of information, or let's say couple of questionnaires have collected on some marketing strategies from some 100 odd people. They have filled out some questionnaires on some marketing strategy of a particular product. They have filled out the questionnaires. Now, going through each 100 of the questionnaire is practically not possible, right? What all those 100 questionnaire means, okay, what can be derived by those 100 questionnaire, because each one of that questionnaire single handedly does not mean anything. Like for example, I say that I prefer a particular brand, will not make much of the difference in the market. But if 100 people all together say that they prefer the same brand, that will make a difference. Okay, but how will that market person get to know that 100 people get prefer the same brand with that questionnaire filled? Now, how that questionnaire will reflect that all those 100 people are inclined towards that same brand? Through this statistical analysis. Okay, so statistical analysis basically, see, one thing I will try to tell you, that many of you must be having some advanced level of research knowledge, right? So you must be thinking that why I'm teaching, or why I'm discussing, not teaching, why I'm discussing from a very basic or very layman language, because many of the audience may not have that advanced knowledge. So we need to keep that discussion at such a level that everybody can be a part of it. Okay, so just be aware with it. So statistical analysis, basically it's about arranging our data, um, organizing our data in such a way so that with the help of right kind of techniques, right kind of models applied on that, it can become meaningful. It can generate some sort of trends, it can generate some sort of patterns out of it. Okay, this is statistical analysis. Further to it, so statistical analysis, it generally, in general, it helps to get the meaningful analysis out of your raw information. Okay, in simple. So if, let's say for example, if you are conducting some interviews, let's say, let's talk in such a way, if you have conducted some interviews to 15 odd people, you have uh, you're conducting a qualitative study wherein the sample size is supposed to be small. So in small sample size wherein 15 is the sample size, so you have spoken to the respondents and you are asking about that, why, the reason why in they are inclined toward the particular brand. In the previous example I told you that we are identifying that which brand they are inclined. Now in this example I'm asking why they are inclined. So the automatically their responses would be little more elaborative, right? So they will tell that because I like the price, I like the quality, I like the quantity, and I like the return on investment, and so on whatsoever, right? But this way, exactly this way, we will not be able to translate into our research, right? Because some other person would say different thing. He or she will tell me this 10 reason, out of which 4 would be same. He will say that because the shop from which I can buy this brand is very close to me and price is also good. So price is common between the first respondent and second respondent. Okay, but shop proximity, first did not tell me, second is telling me. So this kind of pattern identification, the meaning, identification of meaning, how we will get through statistical analysis. Okay, this what statistical analysis does. That's why generally what happen is we tend to get confused. Pay attention here. We tend to get confused that which test to be applied, which test to be applied. Now very simple, very simply, whenever you need to go for your statistical analysis test, very simple, try to have a look on your objectives, whatever objectives you have for your research. For example, you want to know the relationship between one variable into with another. Okay, it's very simple. One another tip, as simple as you can, please formulate your objectives in that way. No need to formulate 5, 6, 7, 8 objectives. Ideal of number of objectives fall between 3 to 5. Okay, because as many objectives you will have to justify them, you will have to go for those many results. Okay, simple objectives will help you to go for identification of right number of tests. Okay, so if you want to find out the relationship between two groups, two variables, you know that okay fine, I need to go for correlation. Very simple. Influence of one over another, okay fine, how much variation has been caused, influence. Now in when we are studying regression, the term is variation, then we get confused. Okay, the term here is saying variation but I need to find influence, similar thing. So get it very clear, okay fine, I need to go for regression. Now if I'm comparing one group with another group, whether it is t test or f test, right? If it is individual within the same group, whether it is t test or f test, so these kind of understanding, that which kind of statistical analysis I need to apply, you will get it very clearly with your research objectives. Okay, so because we do not pay attention to our research objectives, we just want to say that my research study is this, my title is this, how am I go to and what kind of test will be applicable. So your test have a direct connection with your research objectives. I hope I'm clear till now. Okay, okay. Now the question comes, why the statistical analysis has been done. So I think now, till now, it is very clear, because you need to firstly convert your raw data into meaningful information. You want to make your data understood by others, right? And statistical analysis gives answers to your research questions and objective for which you have conducted your research. Because your main aim, that's why I told you, as many objectives as you will keep, you will have to justify all of them. You will have to give answer to all of them. So as many objectives you will keep, as many analysis you'll have to do. So statistical analysis purposefully answers your research questions and objectives. Okay, it aligns your solutions and objectives, and definitely it helps you to take correct decisions. And not only in the research, anybody of you who is at the master's level will join corporate later on, it will help you to take corporate decisions as well, marketing decisions as well. Those who are interested in research, they will join research and development department of their organization. That will help you to take correct strategy, correct what do you call as marketing decisions, financial decision. There also statistical analysis comes into play. Okay, so that is why we do statistical analysis. Okay, now comes statistical analysis process. Now firstly, the steps are there in front of you. My suggestion, what I give to my doctoral students also, and I give to my master students also, it is very very clearly, should be very very clearly understood, okay, that what kind of research you would like to do. You would like to do qualitative or you would like to do quantitative. Okay, now the question comes, how will we get to know our research is qualitative or our research is quantitative? Very interesting question, although it is not a part of it, but let me tell you. When you would would like to interrogate into deep down of some aspect, your research questions and objectives are structured in such a way that they are aimed to deep dwell deep down into some aspects. Like, for example, I want to understand the behavior of kindergarten students into different classes. Okay, what are the factors affect the career choices of college students? These two examples I gave you. In one first example, I am saying that I want to understand the behavior. So behavior can't be understood by, like, in one word responses. So if I'm going to ask the teacher, if I'm going to ask the parents, they just can't reply in one word. I'm just telling you a pro tip. I'm giving you a tip. Maybe you may not find anywhere. I'm giving you a tip. So if you are if you are aimed to understand the behavior of your respondents, so you are going to talk to their parents, you are going to talk to their teachers. They will not reply in one word. They will elaborate their responses. Then in their catch, you are on a qualitative research path. Now come to another one example. I said that you want to understand the factors affecting career choices of college students. That what are those factors which contributes very productively on the basis of what the college students choose their career. Okay, now in this, I don't need any elaborative response. If somebody comes and asks me that what were the reasons at that time because of which you decided to be a teacher. Okay, so I can simply say that my interest, my qualifications, okay, my inclination for communication, public speaking. So I am not elaborating any factor. So then and there, I know that I am on a quantitative research. Okay, so the very, very easy, um, the way to identify the research, the type of research we are doing is what kind of responses we will get from our respondents. It will help you to know that we are on qualitative or quantitative. Another thing is you can merge both of them. You can merge both of them. So you can have quantitative and qualitative both. Like what factors impact career choices in students and why, right? So have both. That becomes mixed. Now I know that I'm doing qualitative or quantitative. Okay, on the basis of that I will formulate my objectives. Okay, now the step one is describe the nature of data. So once I'm very clear I am doing qualitative or quantitative, I know that what kind of data I have, qualitative I have or quantitative I have. So when I know that I what is the nature of my data is, I will have to establish a relationship with the sample population. Now there are two words which you need to understand. One is population and one is sample. Population is, I am sure that many of you must be knowing it. Those who know it, very good. Those who don't know it, please listen to me. And those who know it, please bear with it, because those who do not know it, if I keep on going it, taking these terms, it will be very difficult for our, without explaining this. Okay, just give me a minute. Yeah, there was a technical glitch, internet. Yeah. So I was on sample and population. Okay. So population means, in a simple language, all those respondents can be a part of your research. Okay. Can be a part of your research. For example, I want to launch, my study is to understand the factors which affect the purchase of parents buying clothes for toddlers of age between 2 to 4. Understand, my research is to understand the factors which influence the purchase of parents buying clothes for their toddlers, for their kids between 2 to 4. This is what I'm doing. Okay, so I know that this is quantitative because I just want to understand what are the factors, that the price, quantity, color, variations. Okay, these are the factors they are. Now, data, I know that. Now, who will be my sample population? Because I want to conduct this into Dubai. Then, parents who have the kids of 2 to 4, parents, irrespective they are single as in divorcee or married. I mean, need not to mind, because you have to consider, because need not to say husband and wife will be having a kids, even a single mother or single father can be having a toddler, right? So you'll have to take all these things into consideration. Okay, I am taking only those parents who visit malls. I'm not taking parents who are visiting. You need to narrow down your study, otherwise, it will be a very wide. These things you need to take care when you are conducting research, that you need to put boundaries that which will help you to narrow down your research. Otherwise, it will be a very broad horizon. And these boundaries are always being put based on your topic. Okay. So I am taking the parents who visit mall, irrespective they are single or married. Okay. Gender of the child does not matter. Okay. All right. Then, so now I know my population. Now, the population, if I say, will be too large, right? So, this is population. So, anybody who fits into this criteria can be a part of my research. This is called as population. Okay. But it will be very difficult for me to approach all of them. So, what I'll do is I'll take a representative, I'll take a representative proportion or out of this population who will participate into my research. So, a representative number with all these characteristics matlab must be having a kid between 2 to 4 residing in Dubai, visiting in mall for the shopping of their kids. So, a representative number out of this population will be the sample for my population. I'll be calculating this population. Generally, for this last sample size, 10 to 15% is the generally sample we will take. Otherwise, there are formulas with which you calculate the sample size. Okay. So, this kind of relationship you find out. Okay. Now, then you kind of create a model, or then you find out that what kind of test will be suitable. Test as in, you go back to your objectives, that what kind of, this is what my data collection method is. Okay. This is my model as in, this is my statistical analysis process. This is what I'm going to trying to identify. Okay. That's what you call as model. And this is what the test would be best fitted. So when you say that which test would be best suited, so then in that case, you say that you go back to your objectives, and then what are your aims out of your research? Okay. On that basis, you choose your research statistical test. I think, Seema, I have answered your question. Okay. Some of the very basic, what do you call as descriptive statistical analysis methods, which you must have which you must have heard also: mean and standard deviation. See, mean is the average, or rather I should say that the most common value found in your data. And how do you do that? Basically, I think this is what we are kept on doing from our school days also, that whatever number we have, whatever number of datas we have, we add all of them and we divide by the number of datas we have. Like, for example, we want to find out the means of the height of the one particular students studying in a class. So whatever the height of all the students in the class, we'll add out of them, and let's say there are 28 students, so divide by 28. So that will be the central value, that is mean, we call as. Now, coming to standard deviation. Now, if I tell you the standard deviation in a very normal language, in a very simple language, standard deviation basically tells you that how dispersed the data is, how what do you call as how spreaded the data is around the mean value. Let's say your mean is 14, so how dispersed the data is around 14. Okay. Around the mean is, this is called standard deviation. Okay, so this basically, the standard deviation is used to check whether your research outcome can be generalized or not. Okay, so if it is, call as when you want to test, when you want to write out the generalization in your thesis, that whether it is results of that particular thesis can be generalized, can other researchers or similar results can be used by other researchers working on the similar topic or not, you will refer to the standard deviation. Okay. Okay, then come regression. I think regression is also another term which majority of you must have heard about. Okay. Now, regression is that term which helps to understand the cause and effect between the variables. Now, I would like to take one another term into um, detail, that is called as variable. Now, uh, uh, variable, there are two types: uh, independent and dependent. I think there is a technical glitch, but nevertheless, there are two types of variables: independent and dependent. So, dependent variable, as the name suggests, which gets its alteration done. Okay, dependent variable gets changed, or there are variation caused by some other variable, and that other variable is non dependent or independent, commonly called as independent variable. So there are two types of variable, majorly independent and dependent. So dependent variable undergoes the change process, or it gets altered by independent variables. So if there is any change into the independent variable, there will be a change into dependent. Like, for example, your income and your lifestyle. Your income and your lifestyle. I think it's very clear that your lifestyle gets changed when your income increases, right? So your lifestyle is dependent on your income. So income becomes dependent variable and lifestyle becomes independent variable. So basically, a regression is that method wherein it helps to determine that what is the relationship between what is causing what. If this is happening, if we increase the salary, so what is the effect of salary increase on the lifestyle? So it helps to determine the relationship between, or the variation between, the independent and the dependent variable. So if you want to understand the, let's say, if you want to conduct a study wherein you would like to understand that if India per capita income, per individual income, in simple term, if India's per individual income increases by certain percentage, right, then what will be the influence or what will be the impact on the lifestyle? Then you may use this. Okay, all right. Now comes hypothesis testing. I will also take hypothesis. What is hypothesis? Just now, for the time being, understand what is hypothesis testing. Hypothesis testing basically is used when we mm, set out certain assumptions, whether they are true or not. Like, hard work, or let's say studying for 14 hours gives positive results in exam. So we want to test this with the help of our results. So it is that assumption which we establish before our research, and we test it with the help of our research whether it is true or not. And there are two types of hypothesis: null or alternative. Null hypothesis signifies the negative part or no part of it, that there is no relationship between studying for 14 hours and exam results, right? And your alternate hypothesis says that there is a relationship between studying for 14 hours and exam results. So hypothesis testing primarily is the process of testing those assumptions, whether this assumption is right or not, what we have said before the onset of our research. Now, how does this assumption testing happens? You set this hypothesis, you go for the statistical analysis, you get out those results, and then you find out that what the assumptions we have set, the hypothesis we have set, are right or not. Okay, this is what hypothesis testing. Okay, then move ahead. Now, statistical analysis method also includes sample size determination. I think I've told you well in advance that what is sample and what is population. Another thing is you need to uh, clearly notice that for qualitative study where your responses from the respondents are generally very elaborative, okay, the sample size sample size is is small as compared to, I'm again repeating, for qualitative study the sample size is small, okay. For quantitative study the sample size is large. Can anybody tell me in the chat section why? Can anybody quickly tell me? Can anybody tell me why there is a large sample size in quantitative study? Okay, Maitri have asked one tail and two tail hypothesis. Okay, Maitri, one tail hypothesis, let's say for example, one tail hypothesis signifies that there is an increase in one direction. For example, like we were talking about exams and hard work. Let's say, for example, if the students' attendance is good, they will secure higher marks. So the direction is one sided. Okay, so the direction is one sided, that is one tail hypothesis. Two tail involve both ways. Okay, Vaishali has said qualitative results and dealt in detail until saturation. Yes, qualitative is difficult. Uh, yes, it's difficult to be collected, Rakhi. Analysis of the data happens once you collect it. But your answer is right. Instead of analysis, you can say collected. Right, right. Basically, You need to, you can say that, all of you are right. It's just that the vocabulary is differences, but I know that you have a good fair understanding. So basically you can say that for quantitative, you have a theory, like Mr. The last person has said, that theory, verification, and generalization. And also, you need to reach out the large audience. You need to reach out the large responses, because, and like once response I have got, that you're not aiming for any elaborative response. Okay. And in qualitative, you are aiming for the elaborative response. You are looking for generating some concrete responses. So that's why we keep the sample size large for quantitative and small for qualitative. Generally, if you are conducting some interviews, so you may go for, let's say, what do you call as 12 to 15 is okay. However, when it comes to survey for quantitative, that depends upon whatever your population size is. So sample size determination primarily depend on your population. But if your population is small, then you may consider the entire population as your sample. But when your population is large, so you have to calculate your population. Okay. And there are various formulas given for it. Okay. Okay, so there are certain software given for it, and I would like to tell you just one thing, that generally I have come across. I am not saying that you are you have done this, but this is my personal experience, that students generally says that when we ask them, how what test you are doing for statistical analysis, or how we're going to go ahead with statistical analysis, the answer comes for that we are doing analysis with by SPSS. By SPSS is okay, but SPSS is software. Okay, but what tests you're doing, you're using for your data, you need to tell that when somebody asks about your statistical analysis. Okay. Kishore, I'm again telling you, your sample size determination depends upon your population. If your population is small, you may take entire population as as your sample. However, if the population is large, you have to calculate it. Okay, and there are various formulas available for it. However, for example, like if you're just a tip I'm just telling you, or just a thing, that for example, if your population is going beyond 50,000 or so, 10% of it is okay. But precise number needs to be calculated by the formulas, and there are various Anitha, Kishore, there are various formulas. Best, if you say that what is the best out of it, every formula is good. Okay, every formula is good. These are the software which I have given in front of you. So basically, if anybody asks you that how you're doing your statistical analysis, so you tell them that with the help of this software. SPSS is I'll tell you, SPSS is one of the most commonly used software. Pirated version students do use, but depends upon which kind of what do you call as the sample system you're using. Okay. Because pirated version is not generally accepted by all the sides of the your system or the laptop. Because let's say, for example, if you're using Apple or the MacBook, SPSS you have to buy. So please take care of Microsoft Excel. Also, many students, they are comfortable with Microsoft Excel, so you may go for okay for that also. I will take a quick question of Vaishali. See, Vaishali, when you talk about sample size calculation for intervention study, so basically they are based on what is your primary hypothesis. Okay, what is your primary hypothesis? If you say that in generally what I said, it around 10% of your population you may go for it. Around of your population, around 10%, if uh, as long as your population size is generally is not exceeding 1,000, so you can, taking 5% of margin of error, you may go ahead with it. If it is going beyond that, then I think 7.5%, beyond 1,000. If it is going 7.5%, if it's going beyond that, then 5%. So if I think primary hypothesis decides your sample size calculation. However, if your population is around 1,000, or revolving around the number of 1,000, 10% of it with 5% of margin of error is good to go with it. Okay. So these are some softwares which you may go ahead with. Now coming for types of statistical analysis. See, types of statistical analysis primarily which you have must heard of, that I am doing descriptive analysis or I am doing inferential analysis. Descriptive analysis basically uh, rather a more I'll not say that I'm not in a favor of inferential, or I'm not going biased about any particular type of statistical analysis. Again, it depends upon your objective. Descriptive analysis is relatively simpler than inferential analysis. Okay, descriptive analysis is mainly deals with your mean median mode. Okay, and it is relatively simpler than your influential analysis. Okay, what it is do that, you collect the data, you summarize the data, and you with the help of charts, graph, you find out the mean median mode, and then with the help of charts and bar graphs you present the data. The purpose of descriptive analysis is to simply just identifying the trends. Like, for example, I want to understand that I want to rank understand I want to rank the factors which affect the volunteering in people in Abu Dhabi. Just example. Why I'm taking this example? Because this is one of the study which we are working on. Okay, so this is what one of the factors which we want to rank out in volunteering in Abu Dhabi. So in that we can say that we are just doing with the help of descriptive analysis, that we will just put it in the order. Okay, we'll find out the order, that whether it is income of the person, whether it is nationality of the person, whether it is religion of the person, whether it is education of the person, because in Abu Dhabi there are mixed people, there are mixed cultural people, mixed nationality of the person. So we are trying to find out that what is that um, you know the factors which rank the most. Okay, this is descriptive analysis. Like, what is describing the data? Now coming to inferential analysis. Now inferential analysis means what actually you can identify, or what you can actually understand out of that. Okay, when you um, analyze that data, when you dwell deep into that data, so what does that data mean to you? What is the relationship between that? Okay, so if you, similar example, if I want to understand the study on the volunteering factor in Abu Dhabi, so if I want to do the inferential analysis, so I will say that what is the relationship between the age and volunteering? What is the relationship between um, religion and uh, culture? infer. Kindly bear with it if there is any technical glitch in between. Okay. Just one of you can type if the screen is okay. Okay, we are back. I hope now there'll be no trouble. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for waiting, everyone. I hope there'll be no problem. Okay. So we were talking about inferential analysis. That was clear. That how, what do we infer out of it? Okay. Yeah. There'll be no. Yeah. The recording will be shared. Thank you so much for waiting for us. Okay. Okay. So now coming to the predictive analysis. Basically, when we talk about predictive analysis, now in predictive analysis, as the name itself says that here you kind of predict that how your data will predict about the future trends on the basis of your data modeling or your learning algorithms and your statistical analysis of data. Then comes your exploratory data analysis. Exploratory data analysis is, kind of sibling of inferential data analysis. And what is there stored in the data? You kind of understand the potential relationship within the data with the help of exploratory data analysis. Now, one thing you need to understand that what kind of analysis you would like to do, that you have to do, that you have to very clear of whether I want to do inferential data analysis. Generally, you know uh, for management students, what I'm telling you is that inferential data analysis is is being followed out. Okay, generally is being followed out. Predictive analysis is being, for example, for the students who are doing in evolutionary studies, they are trying to establish, or financial studies, economics in particularly, they are doing their doctoral or research, or those so for those, they generally go for predictive analysis. So you'll have to be very clear that what basically kind of analysis you have to go for. Okay. Now, there is one question from Maitri, that what is the significance, or basically, Maitri, kurtosis and skewness. All those who doesn't know about kurtosis and skewness, don't worry about it. Just don't start getting panicking, because I can very well understand the terms which the researcher, or either you are new to research or does not know about it, the particular terms, they get panic that we don't know about it. So don't worry about it, it's okay, fine. Basically, the term kurtosis and skewness, they tell you the data distribution. Okay, when you go for the normal distribution curve, and needless to worry about it, those who do not know, when you use SPSS, then while you go for the statistical analysis, there is a very well given option available for find out the kurtosis and skewness of the data. And on the basis of that normal distribution, which the curve which you get on, you can find out that how well distributed and how tailed. If the data is tailed, if the data is tailed, that tells the kurtosis of your data. The skewness of the data tells about the distribution, symmetry, or the asymmetry. So is the data is skewed towards left side, if the data is skewed towards right side, that is about skewness of the data. Okay, so don't, those who do not know, please don't worry about. Okay, if the data is positively skewed, that means it is pushed towards right side. If the data is negatively skewed, that means it is left side. Okay, those, again, I'm telling you, those who do not know, please don't worry about it. All right. Okay, then it is causal analysis. As I told you, causal analysis means when you are trying to find out the cause and effect relationship between the variables, that if something happens, then why it is happening, or what kind of effect it is happening on the other variables. Now, basically, what kind of statistical analysis you are doing, you have to mention in your methodology. Okay, you mention in your methodology aspect that this, I'm going for causal analysis, okay, using regression. I'm going for descriptive analysis. I'll be finding out the mean, median. I'm going for inferential analysis, going for t-test or f-test, okay, and I'll be going for predictive analysis, going for data modeling, and all these you have to mention when you'll be talking about your research methodology section. In that, when you'll be going for your statistical analysis, so this elaboration, the theoretical elaboration, will be doing. Another tip I would like to give, especially for the doctoral students, while writing about your synopsis and while writing your thesis and while defending your thesis, why you went for this particular analysis, okay, that if you chose causal analysis, then why? If predictive analysis, then why? If inferential analysis, then why? All this be very well answered. All this be um, very well clear. Okay, you need to be very well answered. Your these answers, if not in the synopsis, but if it will be very clearly mentioned in your thesis, in your presentation, or I'm sure the presentation for your thesis will be mentioning these slides, that instead of going for the extra information that this is that, this is that. No, focus on the methods and justification for methods. Okay, so why you chose this particular method of, or this particular analysis, and why not that, obviously the examiner will ask. So how will you answer this? Try to relate the analysis with your objectives. Okay, try to relate the objectives with your analysis, and this is the best way to answer and to defend your question, or to your analysis, or to your questions if the examiner asks, because these kind of questions uh, does ask been asked by the examiner. Okay, well, they generally ask that why did you go for this, because various researchers, they have different acumen. You might feel that you and your research supervisor might feel that this particular model can be used, this particular model cannot be used. You may have different opinion, they may have different opinion, so you will have to justify it with the help of your objectives. Okay, so this is very need to be very very clearly understood. Okay, and don't worry about it, that don't go with statistical part of it. No, 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 this is t test or this is f test, this, no, this value is this. Try justifying why t test. Okay, try justifying why correlation, instead of going for that these are the value we got for correlation, these are the value we got for cronbach alpha, these are the value for p. These values are important, I'm not saying, I'm not denying, but first try justifying your methods, why. And hopefully once you justify your methods, no examiner will reach to your values. Okay, okay. Then comes a very important aspect, that what is hypothesis. Basically, in general term, if I tell you that hypothesis is an assumption, okay, is an assumption that you establish before you start your research. Okay, also you establish, or you get to um, test it by the end of your statistical analysis and all. Okay, so somebody asked me for tips for defending a thesis. So basically, see, there is just quick one is this, that do not spend much time on your literature review. Just a quick one, because since I had a look on this comment, that just do not much spend much time on literature review, because examiners do not have they are not keen on looking at your literature review. What they are keen on looking at is that try summarizing a literature review in a table instead of going filling out your slides. Try and present your literature in a table. Firstly, it's very important that your objectives are very clearly highlighted, your hypotheses are very clearly stated. Plus, when you move on to your methodology, your research design, your research sample size, your calculation, you may tell them, that this was my population, this is my sample size, and just in a snapshot, you can say that this method I used, or you may skip that also. However, they can simply ask that what was the margin of error, then all that stuff, but you should be prepared answering for that. Okay, then see, I'm not telling you anything from the screen, so please just listen to me out. In research methodology, the maximum part of your questions occur. Okay, and where you basically guys, I would not say that commit mistakes, just surrender, is that we just cram, we just by heart learn that this is the method I use, this is the method I use, this is the method I use, but we forget to learn that, we forget to understand why not other, or why this. So if qualitative, then why qualitative, why not mixed? Okay, another thing is that generally what I have seen, what I have observed, that in limitation, generally we put our own kind of research design as the limitation only. Like many theses I have seen, many theses I have reviewed, that we put qualitative research design, we have used qualitative research design, and we say that qualitative research design was my limitation. How your own research design, which you have used, can be your limitation? You have used it diligently, you have given a thought process that I want to go with this particular type of research methods. How it can be your, or you decided to go for qualitative, obviously your sample size would be low, then how a small sample size can be your limitation? So don't put your chosen, intentionally chosen research methodology as your limitation. Okay, and a tip for the people who are not that great in statistics, just a suggestion, I'm not saying that, I'm not discouraging them, just a suggestion: present as much stress statistics as much as you can defend. Okay, as much as you can defend. All right, so this is some quick tips for your hypothesis. Okay, now coming back, tip for your this thing, research defense. Now, coming back for your hypothesis. Now, when you talk about hypothesis, hypothesis is basically that assumption which you kind of assume when you uh, are at the onset of your research. Okay? When you are at the onset of your research, there are basically, two types of research, like inductive research and deductive research. In deductive research, you start with a theory, you start with a hypothesis, and then you collect the data, and then you test that data, and then you test that hypothesis, that whether the assumption which I had, okay, which I had, was right or not. On the basis of that, you say null or alternate hypothesis, which I explained earlier, is right or not. Okay, so deductive research is this: in which you are deducing, in which you are deducing. So you have your theory with you, you have your information with you, and you are uh, you have your assumptions, hypothesis with you. Okay. Now when it comes to inductive methods of research, in inductive methods of research in which you develop a theory. Okay. In research, you have your theory with you already. Okay. In inductive method of research, you develop a theory. Okay. In which you form the hypothesis. So that's why I say that I am and I know that many of your research supervisor may not agree with me, and many of you also will not be agreeing with me, that every research, when I say that every research need not to have hypothesis, so I get many questions or many back comments, why no, you are wrong, you are wrong. What I meant to say is that when I say every research need not to have hypothesis, that means I say that every research need not to start with a hypothesis. Not necessary that you need to have hypothesis at the beginning of your research. That means everybody need not to do a deductive research. You can have a hypothesis by the end of your research. That is inductive research. Okay. All right. So hypothesis is that statement which is an assumption if you're doing a deductive research, which you test when you collect the data and when you, with the help of theory, when you test it and it becomes a statement. Okay. When you're doing an inductive research, you generate a theory and then you develop a statement which is called as hypothesis, and that theory and that hypothesis is developed on the basis of your data collected. That's the only difference. Okay. Hypothesis basically reflects the relationship between two or more variables. Okay. So there can be one independent variable, two or more dependent variables. Example is there in front of you. You may have a look on it. So if there are two or more variables, a hypothesis is reflecting the relationship between them. Okay. All right. Now the point comes, how to develop a hypothesis. All right. Now, firstly, hypothesis, uh, when you develop a hypothesis, it starts with a research question. I think every research begins with a right kind of research question. Right kind of research question gives you a aim for your research. What do you want to do? Okay. It should be very clear. It should be very crisp and precise. Okay. So what do you want to want to find out in your research with the help of uh, the results you have found out, the findings you have found out, the concepts you have developed, or the findings you would suggest as the solution. Okay. Let me just reply to somebody. So, firstly, that you should have a research questions. Example, I have, let me just enlarge this. Okay. So you should have a very clear research question. Everything it is having a research question as example also. Then do some preliminary research. So this preliminary research, basically, it may, you should go for previous literature, previous researches. Now here I would like to add some one point also, that many a times literature review is very badly ignored. Okay, very ignored. Reason being, we'll do it later or we'll do it parallelly. Your If your literature review is not done properly, your variables would not be identified properly. If variables are not being identified properly, obviously you'll do blunder in hypothesis. Your objectives will not be identified. So in a way, you can say that a properly reviewed um, literature lays the foundation of your research. So please devote as much time as you can for your literature. Okay. So at this stage, you should be very clear that what are the variables you have for your study, because this will help you to formulate your hypothesis, because hypotheses eventually reflect the relationship between the variables. Okay. Then the step 3 and step 4 is formulate your hypothesis and refine your hypothesis respectively. Now you know that what are your hypothesis, what are your variables, and what you actually want to find out. Okay. Now you need to have a very clear idea with the help of your initial question, that this is what I'm looking for, and these are the variables I have in my hand. With the help of my literature, these are the variable in my hand. This is my literature question, this is my research question. Now what you have to do is for refine your hypothesis. Okay. Now refine your hypothesis means make them very specific, very clearly, that your variables should be very clearly defined, your groups should be very clear. Groups as in who are those people on which these hypotheses are applicable, and what are the predictive outcomes you would like to have. Now we have studied, just have had a look on the analysis. Now many people, you must be thinking this is all theory, but if that theory must have not been understood, now here that theory isn't being used. Now here the last point, if you see the predictive outcome of the analysis. Now if you want to see the if you want to see, just see the define the data, you will go for descriptive analysis. You will define the hypothesis according to that. If you want to understand the trend of the results, exam results, you'll go for the predictive results. So your hypothesis reflects the kind of analysis you will use. Okay. Okay. Then step 5 says phrase your hypothesis in 3 ways. Okay. So these basically, these hypothesis phrasing means you can simply write a prediction that and if and then form. The first part of the sentence says that independent, and the second part says the dependent variable. I'm just telling you the English aspect of it, that you can first say that if the then your independent variable, and then your second part is then the dependent variable. Okay. Now when you talk about academic research, hypotheses are more commonly phrased in the terms of correlation or effects. So where you are directly telling the relationship between the variables, like if there is an independent variable, it will cause a it will create a relationship, or it will create effect on the dependent variable. Like for example, the number of lectures attended by a first year student has a positive effect on the exam scores. Like, so number of lectures attended is an independent variable, positive effect of the exam scores is the dependent variable. So in simply hypothesis shows that the relationship between your independent and dependent variables. So I think this is a golden rule, or this is a pro tip when you are writing your hypothesis. So research question, just follow this pattern: research question, your variables, start drafting your hypothesis, and follow these steps of phrasing your hypothesis. Development of hypothesis sorted. Okay. Okay. Then write your null hypothesis. As I told you, null hypothesis is basically reflecting the no association between the variables. Alternate hypothesis shows the association. So here you can see that no effect, a positive effect. Okay. So generally there is a confusion between the students. Ma'am, this shows that there are two hypotheses, two different no, this is null hypothesis. So this is alternate hypothesis. So when you are writing your results, you will simply say that thereby on the basis of the results acquired so and so, we accept the alternate hypothesis, that is the number of lectures attended by first year students has a positive effect on their final exam scores. Or you can say that thereby, on the basis of the results or the finding of the study, we reject the null hypothesis. So if we reject the null hypothesis, it automatically says that we accept the alternate hypothesis. Okay, or we can accept the null hypothesis also. Now, one tip, one suggestion, you can say that, just a one suggestion, we can say that if we are accepting, in every study we are not supposed to accept the alternate hypothesis. There are cases in which you said reject the alternate hypothesis also. If you are accepting null hypothesis, h naught, please pay attention, if you are accepting null hypothesis, in that case please make sure to write that we accept null hypothesis and reject alternate hypothesis. I'm repeating. Okay, if you are accepting null hypothesis, then please do mention that thereby we reject alternate hypothesis. But if you are accepting alternate hypothesis, then there is no need to write we reject null hypothesis. Okay, all right. Mukul, we generally we write it. We do write it. Reason being, because you don't know that whether the results would be on alternate side or the null sides. So I suggest better you can refer to your supervisor also. Now coming to the research design. Basically, a research design is what kind of research techniques you will be taking, and how you are going to use your different data collection methods. And because your research is all about, what is your research, it is all about that how you are going to uh, you know answer your research questions. Research is just the same thing, uh, whether it is you know uh, three questions or two questions, you are aiming the answers, the findings, which will give the answer to the research question. So that's why we say that. That's why my suggestion is better you are better you can refer to your supervisor also. Don't go beyond three research questions, because it becomes uh, very cumbersome to answer all the research questions, specifically students at the master's level. Okay, so in doctoral level you may exceed, but at master's level keep it uh, mm, three optimum, three optimum level, optimum number of objectives, and optimum number of research question is three. What I can suggest is, because what do you call the number of, more the number of research objectives, more the number of analysis, more the number of research questions, more the number of findings, your research will expand. Padmakar sir, see, pilot study we do basically in order to say that whether our data collection method or the tool what we are using is the one which is apt for the study or not. Preliminary research is primarily what we are doing primarily, kind of taking back a look on the literature review, or not taking back, or kind of do a very quick snapshot of a literature review. Okay, now fine. First is to develop, in developing a research design, is first is establish priorities for research design. So basically, again, I'm telling you that, when you are going for research design, you need to uh, see that what kind of research you're doing, going for qualitative or quantitative, what kind of data collection you will use. You may be say that, I want to use survey. Okay, let's say that somebody says that I want to use survey, but whether the survey will give you all the information which is needed for your research will or not. Or you say that I want to go for qualitative study and I want to do interviews, but will interviews will give you right kind of information or not? So these kind of suggestion, these kind of decisions, for especially for data collection, needs to be taken care of. Okay, now, when you call on the decisions related to this, let us talk about this. For example, you're going for experimental research, like, for example, experimental investigation. These are the ones you are doing in laboratory. Okay, quantitative research, you are doing this on the statistical part. Okay, but you will not go for the in-depth study. Okay, so if anybody is going for economic aspect of the research, marketing aspect of the research, they can go for quantitative research design. Correlation research, it will give you experimental research results, but it will help you to establish the relationship between two variables. So beyond the relationship between two variables, the extent of those relationship will not be able to, you will not get it. Okay, Mukul, does the research questions ensures the calculation of the number of hypotheses? Of course. See, how many number of hypotheses is completely dependent on your number of variables. It's not like that you are going on finding on 6, 7, 8 hypotheses. You see that, as many number of hypotheses you have to test all of them, right? So it is not like that, let's formulate 10 hypotheses. You have to test all of them. So your result will be too much elaborative. Okay. Now, when you are going for, like the next point, I think it's for your queries only. Questions to consider when you are going for your research design. Do you really have the time? Because many PhD scholars, like for example, when I did my PhD, I was a JRF scholar from UGC net. Okay. So we have been given a particular time. Just a second. We have been given a particular time during which we'll be given the scholarship to pursue our PhD and beyond. So you have that timeline with you, in which you will have to submit your PhD, and for the university also you get a particular number of times, and right, like yes, Siddharth, like I said, the dimension of variables and number of variables. So you'll have to consider your the timeline which you have, and the content of your research, how much you can write, all that you need to consider. So you just can't uh, just go on that, let's do this also, let's do this also. No, research is okay, fine, you are interested in research, but it does not mean that I am just curious to research, so uh, let's just keep on doing it. No, it's not like that. Okay, so you have to consider that what is the time for that. Okay, then will you be able to collect, like I said, that whatever the data collection method you're using, will you be able to get the right kind of information with that or not? And do you have in-depth knowledge about the statistical analysis tool you are using? whatever method you will be applying, you have knowledge or not, all that you have to consider. Just in case you do not even have, you know, try to read about them. Try to read about them. Why I tell you? Because see, one suggestion I would like to give from my side: research is not about using complicated methods. Okay, that all the t test, f test, and I'm using all the ANOVA, correlation, regression, whatever I know, chi-square test, I'll just put in all. No, it's not like that. Research is not just that I will put all the jargons of research, whatever I know. I have seen people that whatever complicated words, statistical words they know, they will put it on and they will say all. But the point is that how much they are relevant for your research, you should know about it. Research should be simple. Research simple as in, I'm not saying that make it very easy that anybody can. No, research should be simple as in it should be understood by everyone. That's what my aim also when I conduct uh, these kind of webinars for you, that it's very easy to use complicated language in research, which we find in the books also, but it's very complicated to make it approachable to all. Okay, like for example, Maitri have asked me what is degree of freedom. I know that many of you must be knowing it, that what is degree of freedom, but the point is that she is using degree of freedom in her research. Many of you must not be using. So let me first explain it, then we'll come back to it. See, degree of freedom, when you use, see, try and understand the word with freedom only. Degree of freedom is basically is that all those number of independent variables that basically can be varied. If there is, now there is one independent variable, there can be more than one also. Okay, without any constraint. That is degree of freedom. Okay, so there is the way also to find the degree of freedom, that how many number of independent variables, because if there are more than one or more than two independent variables which can be there in our research, obviously, now logically apply the logic, what will happen? It will keep altering your dependent variable, your results will change. Okay, so whatever your number of relations you have, deducted from the number of observations, you'll get the degree of freedom. Okay, now it may sounds, it must have been clear to Maitri, but it must have not been clear to people who are not using it. Okay, so research is not about using jargons, it's about making it understandable to people who are listening to you and to whom you are approaching with your results. Okay, so that's why I told to people who are approaching to their defense also, that present as much as stats which you can easily defend. There is no need to give a platter to the examiner which gives you trouble at the end of rest. Obviously your supervisor is a better person to judge you in that ways. Okay. Okay, now then is your data type you need for your research. That what is the data which you like to have? Like, I told you that quantitative and qualitative, I told you. Okay, primary data which you collect, okay, in the form of questionnaires or interviews which you have. Secondary data which is already available in the form of published data or the dissertations or the books. Okay, so what kind of data you would like to work on? You would like to work on any qualitative study, quantitative, you'd like to do any systematic review. Okay, that also depends upon that. Once you do the literature review, if you're finding any research gap which you think that I should do under systematic review, maybe many a times what happens is that you start with an aim that I want to do a quantitative study, but you think that I can do a systematic review. That depends. So that will help you That will let you decide that what kind of data I need to collect. Okay. Then once you decided that, for example, I need to know the preference of perfume brands in people. Okay, which is the most preferred brand? It's very simple. I'm sorted if I know only the brand preference. Quantitative data, very clearly. Descriptive analysis, very clearly. I just need to rank the perfume brands. And quantitative data, descriptive analysis. Simple. I just said my study is about knowing the perfume brands, preferences of people for perfume brands, and I want to know the prioritized one. Simple, very simple. What I'll do is quantitative data and descriptive analysis. Sorted, no complications. So, on the basis of that, I should know that how will I collect the data? I can simply go for a survey, right? I can simply go for a survey that this is the best way that I will go for my data collection method. All right. Okay. Then these are the some methods that which you can consider. Like for example, you are going for survey that then what are the questions you should go for, how many responses you want, interviews, that what are the availability chances of availability or of the respondents, interviewee. If you want to go for experiments, it's secondary data. All these things you need to consider when you are looking for the different methods. Okay. Okay. Then step 4 says that procedure of data analysis. So your data is collected. Now you till now you're sorted. Okay, you know what kind of data. Your data collection method is, you know that you have collected data. Now you have the raw data. Somebody says that I like Burberry. Somebody says that I like Chanel. Somebody says that Dior. Somebody say that Armani, and so and so and so. But what does that mean to you and me? If some people wants to use my research for their marketing analysis, if some company wants to launch their new perfume product, if they want to use my and generally researches are used, if you want to publish a paper out of it, they are being considered by marketing company or the research companies. So if they want to make use of your results, how will they use? You have to translate your data, and that what's happen is your with the help of your data analysis. Okay, so with the help of correct data analysis technique, that's what I told you, with the help of your right objective which you have set for yourself, that what exactly do you want to identify. So softwares like Minitab, softwares like XPSS, these are the softwares. Then you identify the test to be implemented on that. And let me tell you, for example, softwares like SPSS, they are very easy. They're you know, I know that generation like yours is you scroll Insta, you scroll Facebook like very easy. And SPSS is way too easy than that. Okay. And when you come to qualitative data analysis, wherein the responses are in detailed form, in that your main agenda, your main aspect is to find out the themes. What is the repeated answer out of the all the answers given by the respondents? Okay, this is what you primarily do in qualitative data analysis. Then what once your data analysis is done, then you write your research proposal, or you interpret your results, or you go for discussion or conclusion. Okay, now there are the different data collection method also which I have sorted out for you, that you can go for interview, you can go for questionnaire, you can even go for observation also. Observation is where you just observe. One kind of observation is you observe the respondents, participants, and note down their behavior. One another kind of observation is you become a part of their activity. What they are doing is you just be a part of them and then note down their behavior. Where you are not a participant, what they are doing is So they don't know you, they are being observed, so you get the first hand responses. When I was doing my PhD, I adopted this observation behavior. Okay, so this was one of the method in my PhD. Now, when talking about data collection method, reliability and validity. Sorry for the spelling check. Kindly make it as validity. This is validity. Okay. Reliability and validity is very important uh, to be mentioned when you are going for a data collection tool which you have designed. Let me tell you, which you have designed. It is very important. If you have not designed any questionnaire, for example, you have adopted from any previous studies, then there is no need. Many a time, many Western universities, they let you adopt the questionnaire from previous studies, so then there is no need to go for reliability and the validity. Reliability means the extent to which the results can be reproduced if the research is repeated under the same condition. If the same questionnaire, for example, is being used by another researcher in the same questionnaire, it can be reproduced. Okay, validity means for what reasons, for what variables, for what results this particular questionnaire is being used to measure, it will produce the same results or not. So if you are designing your questionnaire, your data collection tool, you have to produce this. If you are not, if you are adopting somebody's, you need not to. Okay. Okay. There is one question about parametric and non-parametric. Sure. See, parametric tests, when you talk about, they are basically, parametric test based on the assumptions of the population from which you have taken the sample. Parametric test, when you talk, basically, when you talk about non-parametric, there is no such assumption about the population. Okay. Now, if you talk about the examples of parametric test, you ANOVA, your t-test, these are the example of parametric tests when you are comparing the mean of the same group or the different groups. These are the examples of parametric test. Okay. So chi-square, when you talk about, is a non-parametric test. So parametric test is about, simply you can say that it is related with the sample population. Non-parametric test is not. Okay. Okay. Is conceptualizing and making perception out of a raw data the base of analysis of See, we don't make any perception out of raw data in qualitative data, Mukul. Okay. Any perception will be the foundation for the biasness in your analysis for when you're talking about qualitative data. Okay. All right. Arvind, you will have to go for the previous literature, and you'll have to get in touch with your supervisor also, that whether I can adapt or not. For example, the university where I teach, we allow students to take the questionnaires from the previous university. So you'll have to get in touch with your um, supervisor for your this thing, that whether I can adopt or not. Because when I was doing my PhD, we developed our own questionnaire. We did not adopt it. But when I am teaching, our university does allow it. Okay. So it's about university to university. Please get in touch with your supervisor. Okay. Now coming to the sampling for statistical analysis, like how to get out the sample from the mm, population. So sampling, basically there are two approaches: probability and non-probability. Probability means when you have a large sample size. In a very nutshell, uh, I'll be telling you that uh, probability means when every person has a chance for getting selected. Okay, every person. Like, for example, when we throw a dice, any number can come, right? Non probability means when you choose the sample on the basis of your convenience, every person does not have a chance of your to be chosen. Okay, somebody asked me t-test. Okay, see, t-test basically it is used to compare the mean of two groups. Okay, it is when you are actually when your hypothesis actually is trying to test the effect of one group over another one, so then you go for t-test. Okay, like you remember when we were talking about developing a hypothesis, so there we talked about variable, there we talk about group into consideration. So if we have group into consideration and we want to know the effect of one on another, then we'll go for this t-test. Okay, or the one and or how these groups are different from one and the another one, then we'll go for this t-test. Okay, and I think sampling is also very clear. Okay, so probability and non-probability is clear. I think one more question. Or ANOVA. ANOVA basically, ANOVA means analysis of variance. That is the full form of this test. Analysis of variation means how much variation, how much variance independent variable is causing into dependent variable. Okay, how much variation is your independent variable is causing into dependent variable. That's why we call as ANOVA. It is a short form. Okay, all right. Okay, uh it is Ritika, basically chi-square is called as a non-parametric test because we are not making any population assumptions into chi-square test. Okay, margin of error, Ritika, basically margin of error, we say that this much sample size we are ready to take, so margin of error takes 5% above or 5% low. Generally, I'm telling you in simplest language, so please don't comment like this that this is wrong or this is right. I'm just making her understand simple. 5% above or 5% low is acceptable. That's what we understand as in a simple language. Okay, so that it is clear for other also. Okay, this is how to calculate a sufficient sample size. Here you will get the answer also. Significance level, rejecting the null hypothesis usually set as 5%. Okay. Statistical power of certain usually 80% or high. Effective expected effect size, population standard deviation, all these we have discussed. Standard deviation we have talked about. Expected size we have discussed about. Significance level, which is about where you accept the hypothesis, is when you accept the hypothesis is 5% or less. Okay, that is p value. Okay, when p value is less than 5% or less, then you accept or reject your hypothesis. Okay, these are the different methods of sampling. Random sampling, you just randomly choose. Stratify sampling, you create the stratas. Okay, one strata of North Delhi, one strata of Bombay, one strata of Kolkata, and then you out of that you randomly choose. Systematic sampling is one, then fourth, then 10th, then 14th, like this. Non-random sampling is out of your convenience, that I'll be choosing based on my convenience, which is suitable for my study. Okay. Okay, capture recapture is collecting a sample from one location at different time. Okay, at different time. Now, measure of central tendency. What is measure of central tendency? Basically, it represents, just very sorry for this font size. Measure of central tendency are summarized statistics that the central point or the typical central aspect data value of the data set. Okay, like your mean, your median. So all these mean, median, mode, these values, this represents the measure of central tendency. Okay, when somebody asks you, when somebody asks you, if examiner asks you, tell me about the measure of central tendency in your study, and you have gone for descriptive analysis, don't get worried about it. They are asking about the mean, median, mode. Okay, I have given the formulas for both, all three of them. Okay, Now, this is about measure of variability. Variability, basically, this is a normal distribution curve for your data, which you easily get from this spaces. Those who do not know, please don't get panic. Okay, don't get panic. This is the range. Range, basically, how far your data is spread from the distribution. Okay, how much your data is distributed. In quartile ranges, how much your data is spreaded from the center. So this is the total range, how much your data is spreaded from the center. That's it. This much, I think this much understanding is needed. Okay, this much understanding is needed for the ones who actually does not know all this. And when I said that, those who are not very much exposed, I will not say weak, I will say those who are not very confident on statistics, please do not serve a platter for the examiner to ask you unwanted questions. Okay. Okay, standard deviation. Now, standard deviation is a very important term. You should be very much, we should be very well known about it. Standard deviation is basically reflects the variation, the variability in your data. Standard deviation tells the variability in your data. And what is the variation? Variation is nothing but the average of your squared deviation from the mean. Basically, deviation from the mean is how far a score lies from the mean. So, standard deviation, the variation, basically, they are revolving around the mean of your data set. Okay. Okay, now little bit about the experimental study and correlation study. Experimental study, it tells you about the effect on the dependent variable. This you will mention when you are writing your research design. Okay, correlation study, there is a relationship or not, or there is no independent or dependent variable, kind of that. Here you are basically trying to find out the relationship between the variables. Okay, on the basis of this you tend to go for your tests. Now, how you test the hypothesis, basically, which gives you your results. When you are testing your hypothesis, when you are stating the hypothesis is tested, that means you have reached to the end of your results. So, first is your state the null and alternate hypothesis for the difference in means. Whatever is your means is there. Okay, your p value, so p value should be less than 5%, 0.05. Okay, interpret the results. Okay, so a p value, basically what is the p value, is that probability that at least as extreme as the data used in statistical tests. So basically, in simple language, if I make you understand, if nobody knows or if wants to understand, p value signifies that the acceptance or rejection of the hypothesis. P value should be less than 0.05. Okay, and it tells you the rejection or the acceptance of your hypothesis. So p value is an indicator which you get when you are applying your test with the help of the SPSS software. You will easily get it, don't worry about it. Okay, so this is the indicator of your acceptance or the rejection of your hypothesis. Okay, now it comes on your interpreting of the results. Basically, there are 4 test steps to interpret your results. Whatever findings you have got, whatever informations you have got in your uh, software, collect them, because these are percentages, these are numbers. Okay, on the basis of those numbers, you need to collate them. You need to uh, 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 you know uh, uh, concise in such a way, then that means on the basis of that, you need to go for your findings and the conclusion. You need to interpret your results. Percentage does not understood is not understood by many. Okay, percentage, mean, standard deviations are not understood by many. You need to transfer the result so that they can be understood by you. Okay. All right, now it's time for question and answers. Let's hear it out. Yeah. Yes. Okay, please can you collect both qualitative and yes, 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 yes. We call it as a mixed study. Margin of error I told you, chi-square I told you. Yes, yes, yes. We will try. We will try, Aparna. We will try. I think all those questions which are there above, I have answered side by side, right? Yes. Any new questions? Please, more welcome. Please, most welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No, no problem, no problem, no problem. See, p value less than p value less than is that your null hypothesis is true, right? Less than or p value greater than is p value less than is yes, p value less than this thing is that means your alternate hypothesis is right, right? Absolutely right, Mr. Shamim. You reject the null hypothesis, right? Yes, Praveen. G power recommends the sample size calculation. Thank you so much. Your recording will be provided. Okay. If all of you, I'm telling you again, this may be sounds confusing. If your p value is greater than 0.05, reject your null hypothesis. All right, just reject it. Okay. See, we do not say that, Ritika, that for every objective you formulate your hypothesis. It's not like that. Objectives are formulated on the basis of your variables. P value, Martin, is calculated when it's very simple. See, nowadays you have your what do you call as mm, mm, your software. It has been calculated very easily in that. Okay, there is very easily your p value can be calculated. Otherwise, there is a I think p value is calculated between the difference between observed value and chosen reference value. This is the difference between that. Yeah. Otherwise, you click p value, they'll give you automatically. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. No, no, no. I told you, Ritika, yes. No, for every objective, we need not to find the. Okay. Linear trend forecast is based on, it is based on linear trend forecasting. I think it is a linear relationship is mx plus b. The formula is mx plus b. Please refer to it if I'm not correct. Is y is equals to mx plus b. The formula is this. Sarvesh, AI softwares to find out results, and we use publish our paper. You'll have to now check it with the universities, because many universities are what I to my personal use they are not permitting these days. They are not permitting these days. So you'll have to check it. Rakhi will surely try to do that. We'll surely try to do that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. See, when you are trying to do it from the field notes, so again, I think your is on the scientific topic, educational neuroscience. I forgot your name. Okay. So I think your will be experimental research design. So fine, so your experimental analysis you'll have to follow. Yes, everybody you will get your PPTs, you'll get your recordings, you'll get everything. You'll get everything. Don't worry about it. PPTs, recordings, and certificates. Everything you will get. Don't worry about it. Okay? Don't worry about it. You'll get all. See, Kishore. Uh, Without primary data, can we go for hypothesis and reduction only analysis of secondary data and conclude? See, for hypothesis, you need to go for the data analysis and the testing of the primary data, right? Yeah. If you say that for on the just on the basis of secondary data, can you test your hypothesis and you can no, you can't do that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That you can, I think that's what your name is. You can reach me out with the help of your, with the help of the team's ID. I have mentioned the same. We can get in touch. That won't be a problem. I think the certificate would be of in the form of soft copy. You need to get the printout. Because getting a hard copy certificate will only be possible if you can visit the team in their office. Okay, so you'll have to else you can get easily can get a soft copy printed on any hard paper that will give you a look of certificate. Okay, thank you so much everyone, thank you so much. I know that sometimes the people who are well versed with the research aspect, they might find it very theoretical or very lengthy, but we need to take the interest of everybody who's there on the other side of the screen, because everybody is not that well advanced in research. So if I go on talking about what is linear forecasting and what is t-test and ANOVA in such a way that, because then it will not make sense to them, and our aim is to reach out to maximum people, because research is not about, as I told you, research, you can make it complicated to any extent. If it's not been understood by many people, there is no point about it. So please don't add jargons to your research, to your slides. uh, make it more explanatory. You have tabular representations, do it. You have statistical representations, do it. Make sure you know their explanations well. Okay, if there are any other questions, please, I'm there to help you out with. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone. Thank you. It's always been a pleasure that we'll surely do that. Surely do that. Thank you. Surely do that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Didn't understand the last comment. Thanks. Got this. I am at home only. Don't worry. Thank you, by the way. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Micheline, you may reach out the team. We may connect. The team also may can help you if such situation. I think, yeah. Yeah. Don't worry about the slides and the material. They'll reach out to you soon. All right. Don't worry about it. Everything will reach out to you. All right. Thank you, everyone. It was lovely interacting with you, and we'll see you soon. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Micheline, you may get in touch with the team. All right. They'll help you out. Okay. Okay. We can talk about it. Okay. We can definitely sort it out. You may get in touch with the team. We can schedule something. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you now. Okay. Thank you for now, and we'll see you in then another one. Thank you. Bye bye.